there's like a storm coming, so it feels nice though. The air like coming into the house it feels nice. I'm like, ooh, it feels cool because it was a little warmer earlier. But I'm waiting for this to load real quickly so we can. Okay, we're good. All right, guys. So it's time for a study group time, y'all. So hey, study group time, study group time. So welcome to the study group. I'm like low in energy, so y'all will have to bear with me if I move a little slower, because that last one, I was like trying to muster up enough energy to do a chat reading, and I was like, okay, I think I got enough energy to do it. I think I got enough. And then after that, like after I got off, like I literally felt my energy drop, and I'm like, oh my god, I was like, I feel like super tired now. So I'm like gonna work through it. Okay, we're still doing our study group. So, all right, everybody. Well, this is our study group time. So for those of you who are attending, we basically read from the book. Well, I read from the book, and then I stop and give commentary, and I give real world examples of what you can do to improve your ability to manifest your future, to manifest stuff, and to change your life. If I have to randomly get up, guys, because of the storm, if I have to randomly get up to close the windows, just FYI, that's the reason why. Yeah, I know. Cassidy's like, you had a busy day. I do. Cassidy, every day that I work is a busy day. It's funny because I one of these days I need to put my little time lapse camera on so people can see me time lapse like what I go through in an entire day when I'm working. Because I work from home, so it's not like I have to go anywhere. But so people can see everything that I do in one day. Even if it's a slow day, I still have a pretty busy day. But yeah, it has definitely been a busy day. So there was more appointments today than usual. So I am pooped. I am like so tired right now. So I'm pretty exhausted. But I'm here, so we're gonna power through. So of course, so we're doing a study group time. So this is The Secret. For those of you who've never read the book, it's a really good book. The film is just the easy route to go because you can get through it within an hour or two, and then you'll be up to speed pretty much. There's a little bit of extra stuff in the book, but I would just go the route of the film just because it's the easiest way to get through it. So we're gonna read through this, and then I'm gonna stop, give commentary. If you guys have spiritual based questions or questions about like manifestation and the future and trying to create or attract something to your life, feel free to pop those questions in the comment section below. Before I get off, I'll see if any of you have any interesting questions that I want to answer. Let me put this in here so that people know. Study group. Let's see. The Secret Study Group. No readings, personal readings. Okay, so I got that. The Secret Study Group, no personal readings. Taking that, pin comment. There it is. All right, cool. All right, so, cool. All right, so let's get started here. So last time we left off, I was on page, we were on page 52. So, yeah, page 52, okay? All right, so, yep, step 3. So we're in step 3, which they were talking about, like, manifesting and the different steps that are required. There's step 1, step 2, step 3. So step 1 is ask. Step 2 is, what is it? Step 1 is ask. Well, they think it's ask. I want to make sure that I'm giving y'all what they suggest. Yeah, step 1 is ask, step 2 is believe, step 3 is receive. So that's their pathway to manifesting success. All right, so Lisa Nichols. So step 3, and the final step in the process is to receive. Begin to feel wonderful about it. Feel the way you will feel once it arrives. Feel it now. And in this process, it's important to feel good, to be happy, because when you're feeling good, you're putting yourself in the frequency of what you want. This is a feeling universe. If you just intellectually believe something, but you have no corresponding feeling underneath that, you don't necessarily have enough power to manifest what you want in your life. You have to feel it. And yes, you definitely need to get into an emotional attachment energy with the thing that you're wanting to desire, when you're wanting to manifest and bring into your life. However, it doesn't always have to be just the most happiest, positive emotions. You can have just regular human emotions connected to it. But as long as they are reflective of the experience of having or going through something similar, that's the emotional charge you need. Ask once, believe you have received, and all you have to do to receive is feel good, which is not true. When you are feeling good, you are on the frequency of receiving. You are on the frequency of all good things coming to you, and you will receive what you have asked for. You wouldn't ask for anything unless it was going to make you feel good in the receiving of it, would you? So get yourself on the feeling good frequency and you will receive. So here's the thing. Sometimes it's not about feeling good, it's about feeling better. There's a difference between feeling good and feeling better. So if you are, let's say, broke and you need money and you're not good with your money and you've got debt, etc., then feeling good while you're having those real human like stuff to deal with is going to require you to either get delusional and become completely detached from the reality of that circumstance, or you can feel better, which is to try to get that debt under control, start to do better with the way you spend, and then start to get better at saving. And that's going to make you feel better. When you feel better, at that point, having a better feeling and feeling good is going to be much easier, and it will help, and you'll feel good. You'll feel good. You'll just feel good because you have control over your finances, or you just have more in control. But going from having this crappy circumstance and then trying to feel good is too much of a leap, a jump. It's going to be harder for you to be able to line up with that. So it's just better to feel better. So reach for feeling better, not for feeling ideal. And then you will get to your ideal, but you have to just work on feeling better. That's what you can control, and you can change that with just everyday experiences and activities that will help you to shift the energy around. A dear friend of mine, Marcy, is one of the greatest manifestors I have seen, and she feels everything. She feels what it would feel like to have what she is asking for. She feels everything into existence. She doesn't get caught up in how, when, or where. She just feels it, and it then manifests. And that is actually a really good workaround. So instead of trying to think about how something is going to come about, instead of trying to be very picky about what you're trying to manifest, just reach for the feeling of something that's better, which is what I was just saying. Feeling better is better than feeling ideal. In other words, what I mean by that is, if you're broke, again, just feeling like you have control over your finances is going to make you feel better. And then you can be more in that feeling state of not being so concerned with money, not feeling so worried about where money's coming from, not being so worried about how money's going to come to you. Just focus on how feeling better is the way to go, and then try to amplify the feeling better part. In other words, if, let's say, I paid off this bill, right? And I'm super happy I paid off this bill. Oh my God, I finally paid this off. I'm really happy about that. Makes me feel so good. But then I go back to what I normally do. Not me personally, but I'm using me as an example. And then I would to go back to what I would normally be doing, which is, okay, the next day I wake up still worried about this other bill or this other financial situation or whatever. So I only felt good for like a little bit, and then I go back to feeling predominantly not good about money. At that point, your resting state of being is about feeling you only felt good for for a little bit, and then you're going back to feeling crappy again. And so you're only amplifying the crappy feeling, and that's going to become what you're attracting again. But if you have an experience that you enjoy, or you feel better about something that you made progress with, milk that feeling, milk that experience, milk that, and focus on what that feels like and become comfortable with that. And because you have a sense of what that feels like, begin to create these imaginary scenarios in your mind of doing the same thing with these other financial expenses and amplifying that feeling and carrying that feeling over to these other things as well. Because in doing so, you will actually get much closer, and you will start to amplify, and you will start to bring a connection to feeling good about what I just did with this bill, and in conjunction with what I would want to do with these other things as well that are costing money or that are debts. So you can have that good feeling, or that better feeling, that feeling of I made progress. You can carry that over and overshadow some of the crappier feelings that you would have normally in your resting state of being. You can carry that over, and then you can amplify it and start to mix it in there. And then that's going to start to bring that up as an option where that can actually get better for you as well. But you have to milk that feeling of like, I did something, I was able to do it. I remember the first time I moved here after I had been trying so hard to make the move, to make these changes, etc. And the first time I went for a jog here, I felt so incredible, and I felt so proud of myself, and I felt so good that I was able to make so many changes, and it worked. So I would go jogging and I would listen to my music and I would just like, oh my God, I'm so proud of myself. And I would just like milk that feeling. I milked it for like weeks. I milked it for weeks. In the beginning, in the first few weeks when I first got here, because I wanted to get so happy and root and grounded in being here. And I also wanted to amplify that and extend that over to the next stage of my plan, which is to buy a house. So that's the next stage, but I wanted to just get comfortable and milk that feeling, which is what you want to do. A dear friend of, Mercy, so feel good now. When you turn that fantasy into a fact, you're in the position to build bigger and bigger fantasies. And that, my friend, is the creative process. Whatsoever ye shall ask in prayer, believing ye shall receive. What things soever ye desire, when ye pray, believe that ye receive them, and ye shall have them. Bob Doyle. The law of attraction, the study and practice of the law of attraction, is just figuring out what will help you generate the feelings of having it now. Go test drive that car. Go shop for that home. Get in that house. Do whatever you have to do to generate the feelings of having it now. And remember them. Whatever you can do to achieve that will help you to literally attract it. In other words, and this is a tricky one, because if you are broke and you don't know what it's like to go to a place that sells like Aston Martins, or to deal with like looking at Teslas and whatnot, the experience may be very different than what it is like to go to just a regular car lot and just walk around and look at cars. And so if you go to a place like this, or you try to go and test drive something like this, you might not have a very happy or comfortable experience, and it may do the opposite for you of what it is that you're trying to do, which is to feel good and feel like you're test driving your vehicle that you're going to get. So I wouldn't necessarily suggest you go and reach for the most extreme version of your desire. I would recommend you just reach for something that you feel comfortable and be okay with, and then use that as a stepping stone to the next level and the next level. So work your way up so that you can get comfortable and you can get more comfortable to what you're looking for. Action will sometimes be required, but if you're really doing it in line with what the universe is trying to bring to you, it's going to feel joyous. You're going to feel so alive, time will just stop. You could do it all day. So whenever I have aligned with something and I am working towards manifesting something or whatever, I don't always have to act or take action to achieve it. Sometimes I just have to be open to something and it'll show up. Me being open to something will allow the universe to understand, okay, hey, like he's open to it, so let's bring it to him. He'll accept it once it shows up. So, and then it'll just show up. And you start to manifest in that way once you get more comfortable with manifesting. But usually whenever you're really in alignment, you honestly don't have to put in as much work or much effort. In the beginning, when you're just starting out and trying to get comfortable with this process, it does require more effort, more work, just because, again, you have to prove to the universe, to yourself, to God, that you're serious about what you're trying to do. So you got to prove that you're serious. But once you get comfortable with just always, like, if I take a step in this direction, I'm going to follow through, because I ain't putting energy into something that I'm not serious about. So once you get used to only putting energy towards the things you're serious about, at that point, anytime you put any energy towards something you desire, automatically it's going to unlock a lot of easy routes, easy ways, easy paths to achieve that and to get that. Sometimes you don't even have to take action and it just will show up. This is something that I used to do back at Starbucks all the time with my you can feel the wind. So this is something that I used to do at Starbucks all the time when I needed to hire someone in. I didn't want to have to train somebody new. I would have preferred someone just to transfer it in, because it made it easy since they were already trained and ready to go. And so I would add, do interviews on my list of things to do for that week as a store manager. And then I would move that down the list as the week progressed, because I would add more stuff to that list as the week progressed. And I would work on the things that I would prefer to do, because I didn't really want to have to deal with hiring someone, going through the interview, trying to figure out if they're a good fit. It's a lot of work hiring people and picking people that are right for the store. But when you have someone who transfers in, someone's already done all that. All you have to do is just get them used to your team. So that's what I preferred. And what would end up happening is, even though I had it on my list of what I needed to do, and I would have a date that I needed to do it by, inevitably before that date would arrive, and sometimes on that date, someone would just walk into the store or call and mention that they are a Starbucks employee, they've been with the company, they're moving, and they are looking for a store to transfer into. And their schedule would just happen to line up with what I was looking for. I didn't have to do anything. It literally would just come to me. And so that's an example of how that would happen sometimes. But I still had it on my list. So I still had intended to do it, but I preferred to work on the other things that had to do with supporting the store and not having to just go through the process of interviewing, calling people, hiring, setting up. And there's two reasons why people say, well, give people a chance or give new people a chance. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem giving new people a chance. The problem is at Starbucks, when I worked there, they didn't give us extra hours to be able to do that. If I was going to sit down with someone and talk to them for 30 minutes or an hour doing interviews, I would have to take that hour away from the people on the floor who were having to deal with crowds coming in ordering their crap. And so because they would come and order their crap, they would be short-staffed just for me to have to go and do these interviews. So that's why I didn't prefer to do it that way. So that's the reason why. If we had the hours at Starbucks and I had that time, I would have done it. I had no problem doing it whatsoever. But that wasn't the case. The case was I had to take hours away from my team on the floor who were busting their ass trying to keep up with all the orders. And I didn't want to do that. So that's why I would put it on the list, but I didn't really want to have to go through the process of hiring somebody from scratch. So that's why. Yeah, exactly. Very busy. Sometimes you will find not even be aware you used action until after you've received, because the acting felt so good. You will then look back and see the wonder and matrix of how the universe carried you to what you wanted and also brought what you wanted to you. The universe likes speed. Don't delay. Don't second guess. Don't doubt. When the opportunity is there, when the impulse is there, when the intuitive nudge from within is there, act. That's your job. And that's all you have to do. Trust your instincts. It's the universe inspiring you. It's the universe communicating with you on the receiving frequency. If you have an intuitive or instinctive feeling, follow it. You will find that the universe is magnetically moving you to receive what you ask for. You will attract everything that you require. If it's money you need, you will attract it. If it's people you need, you'll attract it. If it's a certain book you need, you'll attract it. You've got to pay attention to what you've attracted to, because as you hold images of what you want, you're going to be attracted to things and they're going to be attracted to you. But it literally moves into physical reality with and through you, and it does that by law of attraction. Remember that you are a magnet attracting everything to you. When you have gotten clear in your mind about what you want, you have become a magnet to draw those things to you. And those things you want are magnetized to you in return. The more you practice and begin to see the law of attraction bringing things to you, the greater the magnet you will become, because you will add the power of faith, belief, and knowing. You can start with nothing, and out of nothing, out of no way, a way will be made. All you require is you and your ability to think things into being. Everything that has been invented and created throughout the history of humankind began with one thought. From that one thought, a way was made, and it manifested from the invisible into the visible. Think of a car driving through the night. The headlights only go 100 to 200 feet forward, and you can make it all the way from California to New York driving through the dark, because all you have to see is the next 200 feet. And that's how life tends to unfold before us. If we just trust that the next 200 feet will unfold after that, and the next 200 feet will unfold after that, your life will keep unfolding, and it will eventually get you to the destination of whatever it is you truly want, because you want it. Trust the universe. Trust and believe and have faith. I truly had no idea how I was going to bring the knowledge of the secret onto the movie screen. I just held to the outcome of the vision. I saw the outcome clearly in my mind. I felt it with all my might, and everything that we needed to create the secret came to us. Take the first step in faith. You don't have to see the whole staircase, just take the first step. Let's look at using the creative process for those who feel they are overweight and who want to lose weight. The first thing to know is that if you focus on losing weight, you will attract back having to lose more weight. So get having to lose weight out of your mind. It's the very reason why diets don't work, because you are focused on losing weight. You must attract back continually having to lose weight. The second thing to know is that the condition of being overweight was created through your thought to it. To put it into the most basic terms, if someone is overweight, it came from thinking, fat thoughts. Whether that person was aware of it or not. A person cannot think thin thoughts and be fat. It completely defies the law of attraction. Whether people have been told they have a slow thyroid, a slow metabolism, or their body size is hereditary, these are all disguises for thinking fat thoughts. If you accept any of those conditions as applicable to you and you believe it, it must become your experience, and you will continue to attract being overweight. After I had my 2 daughters, I was overweight. And I know it came from listening to and reading the messages that it is hard to lose weight after having a baby, and even harder after the second baby. I summoned exactly that to me with those fat thoughts, and it became my experience. I really beefed up. And the more I noticed how I had beefed up, the more beefing up I attracted. With a small frame, I became a hefty 143 pounds, all because I was thinking fat thoughts. Who thinks fat thoughts and gains, like, seriously? Like, I get where you're going with this, but I don't agree with that. The most common thought that people hold, and I held it to, is that food was responsible for my weight gain. That is a belief that does not serve you. And in my mind, now it is complete balderdash. I've never heard of that word, balderdash. Food is not responsible for putting on weight. It is your thought that food is responsible for putting on weight that actually has food put on weight. Remember, thoughts are primary cause of everything, and the rest is effects from those thoughts. Think perfect thoughts, and the result must be perfect weight. These people, like, every time I read a line and I'm just like, y'all are just really trying to, like, annoy me today. Let go of all those limiting think perfect thoughts, y'all. Don't think imperfect thoughts and you will lose weight. I'm gonna stop there for a second because that's something to talk about here. So let me tell you how I lost weight, because that's how to help you. So in my mind, here's the thing. So whenever you are struggling with a metabolism issue, or whenever you're struggling with weight issues, one thing you need to understand is that the weight represents something. Sometimes the weight represents the energy of protecting yourself from the outside world, where it may have something to do with trauma or protection. In other words, weight sometimes acts as a boundary or as a barrier for some people, where they end up gaining weight and they use that weight, whether they realize it or not, subconsciously. It's like a protective barrier. It's a comforting barrier between the world and us. Sometimes without that weight, you feel very vulnerable and very exposed. And I know of women who they gained weight after they suffered a sexual trauma, or they suffered from a trauma that made them feel ashamed, made them feel guilty, and made them feel as if they were more of a target. And so sometimes that weight comes on just because it's a protective mechanism. For myself, when I was heavy, because the heaviest that I've ever been was like 220 pounds. Right now I'm like at 160, but the heaviest I've been is like 220 pounds. And for myself, the weight was my way of feeling comforted and feeling nurtured. In other words, when I was a kid, when I was younger, when you're poor, a lot of times the best thing or the most that a parent can give their child is just more food, because that's all they can afford, or that's all that they can like give them. And so for my mom, even though my mom couldn't give me a lot of things, as far as financially support a lot of some of the things that I enjoyed or wanted as a kid, she could give me food. She could give me a lot of homemade food, which is what she would make. She would make a lot of food, and then she would be like, make sure you eat well, eat well. It's a Hispanic thing, eat well. And so that's what I would do. I would just eat. And that was my way of receiving love from my mother. And as she got sick and it worsened over time, I still ate a lot, and I still ate continuously because it comforted me and made me feel like my mom was still nurturing, taking care of me. My mom wasn't mentally whacked, and so that helped me. And as I got older, whenever I would get stressed, when I would get anxious, the first thing I would do was eat. I would go and eat something because it was the only thing that I knew of to comfort. It was a coping mechanism. So, the secret says, when you think imperfect thoughts about your body, or when you think of weight, you gain weight. That's not necessarily true, because even since I lost all the weight that I've lost since the last time I lost it, which was early 2020 when I lost 60 pounds, and it stayed off. I haven't put it back on. I stay very aware of my weight just because, for health reasons, and also I just don't feel good. I don't feel good in my body when I have extra weight to have to contend with. I don't feel good about myself, and I don't feel healthy, and I feel weird, and it takes more effort and more work to do stuff. And so for me, I try to maintain that weight, and I try to do it in a healthy way. So for me, the simplest way for me to maintain my weight is just simply to walk every day. Because even if I have a day where I overeat, or I eat more than I should have that day, or I had more goodies in that day, which usually happens once or twice a week because I allow myself permission to be that way. Just walking every day for that hour, which is about 4 miles, automatically helps me to stabilize and to keep that stable. Now, if I decide to walk a little extra, then I'll do a double walk in a day. Like this last week, because I was starting to feel a little more plump or feel a little bit thicker, I did a few extra walks. So I did 8 miles a few days in the last week, and that helped me to kind of recalibrate and to kind of get back into that place where I'm more comfortable with. But that's me, right? But that helps me also. And I also use my walks as a way to meditate. So it's not like I'm walking and I hate doing this, and no, I don't do that, because when I get on the treadmill, I don't like using the treadmill. That's the reason why I don't like using the treadmill, because I don't enjoy it. I don't like it. And it's easier to follow through and to do what you need to do for yourself so that you can move forward with your goals. And if you're just sitting around and thinking skinny thoughts and hoping that it's going to fall off, it ain't going to happen. And if it does happen, it may be from circumstances that you didn't anticipate. Like you suddenly have a digestive disorder and all of a sudden you start dropping weight and you can't control that. So you might actually attract a condition that might cause you to suffer. So you want to take control of the goal. And so for me, taking control of the goal of staying slim or to focus on that weight loss was, what can I do? And so I started transitioning my diet over to incorporating more healthier options or better options. So I tried to avoid meat and incorporated more plant proteins. I also allowed myself to start to practice listening to my body. When I wake up in the morning, I'm not hungry. The first thing I'm thinking about is not food. Now, I do make breakfast twice a week, but for the rest of the week, I pretty much don't eat breakfast, and I don't really eat lunch because I'm not hungry yet. I may have my coffee, but I don't eat lunch yet. And I'm honoring my body. I'm listening to my body. If my body doesn't want food at that time, I'm not going to force it to eat, because people say you should eat breakfast. Screw that. I'm just going to listen to what my body wants. And my body just doesn't want to eat breakfast at that time. But when I get into 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, then I start to get a little hungry. And then at that point, I'll go and grab a banana, or I'll grab like a bowl of nuts, or even a piece of fruit now at this point. But I try to keep it simple, because, when I'm busy and I'm working, I get caught up in what I'm doing. And that's one of the best ways to try to bring your weight down or try to control that, is just to get caught up in something that you are so focused on that you forget to eat. And then once you realize you need to eat something, stop, go eat something super simple and fast and easy, and then get back to what you were doing. And that way you won't sit there, think, and then you start to consume all these extra calories you're not going to burn off. So for me, walking every day helps, and entertaining myself while I'm walking helps. So I'll listen to a podcast, or I'll listen to like a documentary thing on YouTube, or I'll listen to an audiobook. Sometimes I'll use walking as a meditation, and I'll put on my favorite music, and I'll go through this whole visual meditation process while I'm walking. That also helps me as well. But just do basic things. Don't make it so hard for yourself. Most people, when they lose that momentum, is when they come up with this, like, I gotta work out hardcore every single day, and I gotta do all these weight train and I have to buy this program and buy this diet. You can try that. The thing that I found though for me is that I am a lazy person. I don't want to have to do extra unless I absolutely have to. And so for me, walking 4 miles a day is enough. For me, practicing where you don't eat breakfast, what is it called? I forgot what it's called, but practicing not eating breakfast, that works for me. Focusing on that helps me. Transitioning some of my diet options so that it's a little bit healthier or there's better options available, that works for me. And that's the easiest, laziest way to get there. But I gave myself like time. I didn't say, okay, I'm going to do this, like these things, and I expect to drop 30 pounds in a month. Like, are you kidding me? Most people could probably lose 10 pounds in a month. And that's what I was able to do through my process. Trying to come up with these these crazy goals that are just going to take too much work and effort is probably going to only work for a good, month or a few weeks, maybe even a few days before you go back to what you're used to. So if you make it easier for yourself and you find the easy way to do it, which is what I did, that's worked for me. And so intermittent fasting, that's what it's called. Intermittent fasting, when you don't eat 3 meals a day and you eat all these extra food. Like, I just don't eat unless I need to eat. So for me, lunchtime, I need to eat, especially on my work days. And then dinner, I kind of give myself permission to eat whatever. But because I practice intermittent fasting, it shrinks how much food you can take in. And so by the time I get to dinner and I'm snacking, and then I want to eat my meal, like, I just can't eat as much. And so it just, like, I get full really fast. I remember as a kid, I used to, like, load my plate up, and I used to have a big old plate full of food, and I would eat that whole thing and then go back for seconds. Now, with Thanksgiving, and they make a joke now because, just a few years ago, I could eat all these plates of food for Thanksgiving. Now, when I try to eat Thanksgiving food, I can't eat a full plate anymore. It's not getting in. It's not going to get in there. So it's just like, okay, I'm just going to settle for a smaller amount and just be happy with that. And then I'll eat later on again if I want some more. So, but make it easy for yourselves. Don't stress yourself out as much. Okay. And we'll stop there. And let me jump over here because I want to see your questions about this here as well. Our questions, study group questions, or questions about law of attraction stuff. Personal questions are, Monica, it's a good suggestion. You can listen to frequency when you sleep. It raises your vibration. Here's the thing. If you really want to really empower your ability to manifest and to get to a higher frequency, if I'm just listening to rhythmic tones, ding dong dong ding dong ding, if I'm hearing tones while I'm falling asleep, I don't have an emotional attachment to that. There's no emotional resonance to that. I would suggest listening to something that is definitely going to spark an emotional resonance within you. So if I'm listening to something else, or a song, like if I'm listening to Selena and I'm ready to dance, and that is going to have a whole much more power pack. It's going to be packed full of power and emotion than just listening to tones while you're falling asleep. And so in my mind, for me, if I take a walk for 1 hour and I'm listening to my favorite music and I'm envisioning and having all of these visual exercises going on, that is going to be so powerful versus just listening to tones at night while I'm falling asleep with no clear intention and no clear focus, because that's really not going to serve me as well. And so that's been my experience. You can try the tone thing to see if it works for you, because I did that. I went through that and I didn't see much movement or momentum. But once I started to just get very engaged with the exercises of visualizing and stepping into the power of feeling all of that and having my favorite music and doing it, it definitely worked a lot more effectively. I spoke about my road trip. Positive outlook of I can do this has helped me overcome fear that was holding me back and isolated. I received, and now I am in gratitude and joyful. Now I am working on manifesting a major change in life that's long overdue. So Jen is telling us that she had been wanting to manifest a trip or just to take a road trip, but she didn't know. And we were talking about money and all that other stuff, but she was able to manifest the trip and was able to take a trip to the Ozark Mountains, which the Ozark Mountains, in my opinion, is better than Marfa's, because I love mountains more than just the desert. So that's awesome. And so now she's working on the next manifestation. Now I'm working on manifesting a major change in life that's long overdue. I'm a bit unsure of this manifestation as there are children and grandchildren involved. They wouldn't be as near to me as they are now. I need to do me at least, but don't want to be self-centered and selfish. Taking action is the name of the game, just a bit different. Calm down. It's okay. It's Chanel. She's having a episode. You okay? You're right? Yeah? You're right? Okay, she's fine. She's fine. Just a bit different for me to manifest something so big. Trust, having faith, yes, but this is difficult. Okay, here's what you do. That manifestation, you said it's big, right? It's gonna rain. Give me 1 second. Let me close this window because if not, then I'm going to like have my stuff coming out. All right. Okay, so coming back to this. Hey, calm down. Okay. Please hold. Please hold while I transfer your request. Thank you for choosing Starbucks. All right, hold on, y'all. Let me get myself together here. It's a little dark over here, but that's okay. All right, so, okay, here. I put on my special light here. Okay. That's okay. It's light enough. It's bright enough, right? Y'all can see me. Okay. Anyways, so here's what you do with the manifestation. Take the manifestation and break it up into parts. And break it up into parts, achievable parts. Like, if you want this thing to happen, make a list of the things that have to happen in order for this manifestation to show up or to be fully formed. In other words, if you want to, hypothetically, let's say you want to make a move, right? Maybe you want to relocate, maybe you want to make a move. Okay, well, what's a part of a move? What goes into moving from one place to another? What goes into that? Well, you got to pack all your shit. Okay, that's one step. Well, you got to start looking at like services in that area. Okay, that's another one. Oh, I have to look at property. Okay, look at properties. But make a list. Just make a list of the things that you believe or that you think you're going to have to do to achieve that manifestation. And then what you do is start going into that list and picking the easiest things you can do and just do it one at a time and start knocking out the list. What is going to happen, because this is what happened for me, as I started knocking out that list and actually taking physical action steps to take care of each one of those things, all of a sudden stuff started to happen in my life that made it easier to move and allowed me the process to move sooner and much more smoothly. So that's what I would recommend, and that way you can break it up into because you don't need faith. Faith comes in automatically as soon as you start to feel aligned. So you won't even have to have faith. Just focus and break it up and then start to focus on the things on the list one at a time and then knock it out. And then that'll start to shift your energy enough that you can make those changes. Okay. I have the same routine. I also lost 60 pounds a few years ago. Yeah, it's like, my favorite part about having lost all the weight, especially when I'm at my like leanest, is feeling my hip bone. Like when I wake up in the morning, if I wake up, because sometimes I sleep shirtless. And when I wake up in the morning and I can feel my hip bone, I enjoy that. I don't know why. It's just like something that I enjoy. I also like feeling the gap between my shorts and my body. So it's like I wake up and I'm like, oh my God, I've got room. I don't feel like it's pressing or it's tight. Like I enjoy that. And those are things you appreciate when you have an experience where you are slim or you can get to that point. And so those little things are the things that I focus on or that I fixate on, because those are the things that I enjoy more. So let's go over here, see what you guys are asking. Please print out. My mother is in depressed state. No personal readings, guys. This is a study group. Sorry. How do you feel, Nicholas? How do you feel about hypnotic meditations? I've been having my clairvoyance open up big time and many lucid dreams. Hypnotic meditation. So here's the thing with hypnosis. Hypnosis is actually a really good thing to use. And here's what I would say. If you can actually create a hypnosis process to be able to line up with what you're trying to experience. In other words, taking yourself into that deeper state and then starting to take yourself to the experiences so that you're kind of living them out in your mind, and it's in a meditation. You can do it that way. What I used to do, and you could say this is a type of hypnosis, because just listening to hypnotic suggestions, like if you listen to an audio, you are brave, you are strong, you are courageous. Like, that's great, but it's not going to really pack a punch. What I would recommend is trying to understand what it's going to feel like if you're having an experience or you're going through something that you really enjoy. And so try to understand some of those elements. For example, living here in New Mexico, one of my favorite things to experience here is the crickets at night. I love hearing the crickets at night. I like hearing those nature sounds. I love hearing my cat sneeze, right? So I love those cricket sounds. There's a smell of piñon that I like as well. That's part of like usually with the wood that you burn. It's got like a bacony smell to it, but I love the smell of piñon wood. So what we would do is we would light piñon, and we would light it right before we go to sleep. I would also put on an audio next to my bed with the cricket sounds, and I would fall asleep imagining that I was in the place I was last at where I had those experiences and feeling that. And I was just acting as if I was laying in bed with my eyes closed in that place, having those experiences, versus me being in the place I was actually at, listening to an audio and just imagining. So I would basically like psych myself out into this imaginary place. And you can call that a type of hypnosis, but hypnosis operates the same thing. It's basically taking you into an altered state of experience, and then incorporating and aligning with that experience to the fullest that is possible. But yeah, you can try that. But and here's the thing also with, if you want to build up your psychic ability, meditation, as far as building up psychic ability or psychic potential, you can totally use hypnosis to try to build that up. But people have a tendency of spending more time meditating about their third eye opening. Like if you spend an hour each night listening to an audio that is hypnotizing you about envisioning your third eye opening, that is such a waste of time, in my opinion, because you don't have to open your third eye to get it to work. You just have to intentionally try to use it, and that will get it to work. In other words, try to ask yourself psychic questions about things that are going on in the world, and get a little like notepad and write down your date and what you think or how you feel about something. I'm not saying to say what's going to happen. Just focus on the elements and focus on what you're feeling about it or sensing, and just kind of try to come up with a trend of what you think might occur, and then just do that more and more and more. You're not going to be right at first. You may do very badly. You may really suck, but as you get more comfortable with it, all of a sudden you're going to start to notice that there's more that's aligning, and you're going to start to have more clairvoyance automatically starting to happen when you're not even trying. So that's better than just sitting there meditating for an hour trying to envision your third eye opening. Like, why are you worrying? That's like, I'm going to sit on the toilet and I'm going to imagine taking a shit. And I'm like, okay, well, just go and eat a lot of food and just get that process going. You're going to take a shit at some point. It's going to happen automatically. Stop sitting there and just spending hours envisioning and meditating on that. I know that's a crude way and a crude example, but you gotta trigger and engage the process, not actually sit there and hope for the process to occur. It's already happening. All of us are psychic all the time. We don't realize it. We just don't give ourselves credit when we are. Faith. Faith to me is the ability to know who I am, to know how I am connected to all things in this world, to know that God is not a separate thing from me. God is in me, with me, through me, and that there's a collaborative effort taking place there. So whenever I am connecting with God, or when I'm speaking to God, I'm not speaking to God as if it's something separate and I'm a part of it. When I speak to God, it is me just paying attention and listening and just asking for guidance and expecting to get the guidance in some way or another. If it comes through an idea, if it comes through a thought, if it comes through a feeling, then I'll take it. I don't have to have it all spelled out, but I trust that it's coming through. And so for me, having faith is just knowing who I am in all of this, and then trusting that I will be led and guided in the way I'm supposed to be guided if I'm not 100% clear in my head and as far as what I'm supposed to do. That is faith for me. Some people see faith as like, I just believe in something. when you know yourself and you know your connection to God and source and you know what purpose you serve here, or even just have an idea of why you're here and trust in the process that you'll be led, you don't have to force yourself to have a belief in that something is out there that's going to help you. You know something is going to help you because you start to see the example of it all around you. And then it'll start to kind of manifest and materialize and so forth. So you will be affirmed in your faith because it's going to be affirmed for you. So for me, faith is a different thing than just having a belief in something and hoping that it's going to show up or it's going to turn out or it's going to it's going to, I'm going to be blessed. I'm already blessed. It's not about, believing in something. It already exists. Yeah, Candace is like, of lately I've been feeling uncomfortable. Can't it be the universe saying it's time to shift my energy elsewhere and start doing for myself? Yeah, I mean, you can take it as that. I would say, first of all, like I said in the last live, like a lot of people were feeling the way that you're feeling right now, and just feeling uncomfortable. I actually felt like that yesterday. I just didn't feel comfortable in my body, which is the weird thing because normally I'm pretty chill. I'm a pretty chill person, but yesterday I just felt uncomfortable in my body, and it was a weird feeling because I'm not used to that. And I was like, okay, well, that's a new feeling. That's a weird sensation. Those are some weird things. But okay, whatever. I'm still gonna do what I gotta do in this world. I'm still gonna get my ass up and go work and do what I gotta do. So I don't fuel it with obsession. I just acknowledge it. Okay, that's what I'm feeling. But let me have more clarity on what I need to do next with that, if I need to do anything or if it's just something that's passing, and then I just let it be. So for you can use it as a motivator to shift your energy and go in a different direction, or you can just wait for more guidance and wait for more clarity to show up. It will show up because you're not alone here. You're part of God. You're going to get the clarity. You weren't just thrown into this reality. You weren't thrown onto this world to just be abandoned by God. God is like a witness through you. Universe is witnessing life through you. And so you're going to be guided, but you just have to be patient and trust and have faith in the process that the guidance shows up as you need to take the step necessary for something else and for something else and for something else. Yeah. If you're positive, will positivity come as well as negativity? When I think of the word positive, it can be very mixed responses or reactions to that, just because I by nature I'm just chill. Like I'm just chill, and I don't really worry about what my face looks like, and people may assume I'm like in a bitchy mood or like I'm moody. I'm just like, I'm just here. I'm just here. I'm just here, y'all. I ain't doing nothing. I ain't saying nothing. I ain't doing nothing to nobody. So I'm just here. But people will sometimes think that I like am in a bad mood or I'm moody. And I'm just like, no, my face just, I don't feel the need to put energy into making my face look anything different than what it's naturally doing. So I'm just going to let it be, right? But what ends up happening sometimes is that sometimes we need to be optimistic, and we need to just focus on, okay, we'll just get through this unless shit falls on you, move forward or keep pushing forward. And be optimistic. And there's a difference between positive and optimistic. And some people are obsessed with being positive. I'm not allowed to be human. I'm not allowed to have a negative thought or negative feeling or negative reaction, negative response. I can't be negative. I can't be negative. If I'm negative, I'm not spiritual, or I'm not a good person, or I'm not going to attract positive things, or I've manifested incredible things, and I'm not like that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or I would go crazy. I did go through that period in my life, and I realized that I did less attracting then than I have now, when I'm just myself and I'm at peace with myself. So what I would say is, you don't have to be positive to have an incredible experience in this world, or to have an incredible life. You can just be yourself. However, being optimistic is a different story, in my opinion. And that means, believe that something better is possible. Believe that there are better experiences, that there are much more enjoyable experiences, that there are more desired experiences that you will have. Believe that. And there's nothing wrong with that. So that's a different story. So having optimism is different from like, I'm hoping for the best. I would like to experience the best. I'm going to work towards that. But if it isn't going to happen, then I have to deal with whatever's going to be and then go with that. And so it's almost like just having a desire for the best outcome, but not trying to talk yourself out of the reality of whatever's happening. And that's what tends to happen with people who try to be positive all the time. They talk themselves out of the reality of life, and then they don't deal with things. And then they lose it when they lose control. They become control freaks, and they lose control. They struggle. So you can be positive, but I prefer to be optimistic. Optimism for me is a better version or term than being positive. Okay? Yes, it's like, yes, like your unexpected mail gifts. Those happen to me, or someone would just give me something I have been secretly wanting. Sometimes a small thing like a matching pot holder I needed. Yeah. Those are things that just show up to me, or they come to me, because if I'm having that process in my head or in my heart somehow, the energy is there. All of a sudden, it's pulled to me or it's attracted to me. So. Do y'all hear the rain? Do y'all hear the rain? Um, um, Other personal questions. How do you recharge after your readings? Oh, good question, right? Okay, so this is something that, there are a lot of mediums and psychics out there who have a lot of great advice, but when you're actually a psychic and a medium professionally, and this is all you do, you have to find different tricks and different approaches and different ways to handle this. Because most psychics and mediums that I know only do like maybe 3-4 readings in a day, max. That's it. I do about 10 on top of the live readings, on top of the study groups as well. And then on top of the e-readings as well. And I usually have about 10, 15 e-readings in a day that I have to do as well. So that's a lot. And so, like, for example, last year, it's interesting because I was watching Alison Dubois. You know Alison Dubois, right? She's the one that was the basis for the show Medium. Because I follow her on Facebook. She had posted it. She was like, she has like 400 and something appointments in a year or something like that. I was like, 400 and something appointments? I was like, I had 1,600 appointments last year. I was like, how are you getting away with just only doing 400? But I'm sure she charges probably a lot more than I do. But at the same time, she has a husband that, brings money into the home as well, which makes a big difference. So I'm like, okay, it's a different situation than me. But I was like, girl, last year I had 1,600 appointments, and that's not including the lives, not including the study group, not including the e-readings. And e-readings are like 30% of my business. So that's a lot, right? And so that's a lot of energy. That takes a lot of energy. And so on days that I work, and I've been very open about this, on days that I work, I actually jam-pack my day because I don't want to spread out my workload throughout the week. Again, I'm very lazy. There are days where I literally want to do nothing, or I need to completely disengage and check out because my brain cannot. I'll overload myself. I'll make myself crazy. So I give myself plenty of downtime. And so on my days that I work and I do appointments, I have a completely packed day. And I force myself and push myself to go as far as I can. And so last year, I was doing 10 to 15 appointments, and then some days I was doing 18 appointments. And I remember I read somewhere, some psychic, she says, people who say that they do 18, 20 appointments in a day, they're lying. I'm like, I ain't lying, girl. I've done that in days, so I do it. But I was burning out, and I was definitely running way too low on energy. And there were some days, even when I would give myself extra days off to just recoup, I just literally was like a zombie, and I was just like sitting there, not really able to process and not able to really think too much. The idea of thinking was painful. That's how much it requires in your head to do all these things. The idea of thinking was painful. The idea of speaking felt painful. So I had to get realistic with myself and say, Ferny, if you continue this way, you're going to burn out and you're going to fry your brain. So bring it down. And so I brought it down to 10. So now I stay between 8 to 10 appointments in a day when I work, and then my lives, and then my e-readings, etc. And I've been able to maintain that. I'm okay with that. It'd be nice if I could bring that down further. However, it gets a little tricky just because, I don't just support myself. I support my partner. I support our lifestyle. On top of that, I pay taxes. On top of that, I still want to do the lives. On top of that, I still want to be as accessible to as many people as I can. And I already get bombarded because people want to get into appointments and they have to wait a while in some cases. And so I'm like, oh my God, I have to, so it's a balance that I have to have there. And so that's what I do is for me, it's like 8 to 10 appointments in a day. But to recharge, I just give myself extra time off. I walking helps me tremendously. I give myself days where I can just be lazy and watch Star Trek all day, or I will go outside and work on yard stuff. That also recharges me as well. Sometimes if I want to be artistic, that also helps me as well. Reading spiritual books or books that help me to learn new things is recharging for me as well. Those are all recharging things for me. But I also try to go easy on myself when I am working. So on days that I work, I don't eat a lot. I don't eat as much on days that I work because that takes energy. It takes effort for my body to metabolize that stuff. So I have to reduce that. But I also am a caffeine addict. I love my coffee. I love my tea. And I, again, have been very open. On days where I work, I have to take my prescribed dosage of Adderall because it helps me to stay focused in my head. Because without it, there's a lack of focus for me sometimes. And it's harder for me to kind of fixate on things in my head that I need to when I'm doing readings for people. So it's just a part of what I have to do. I'm not an Adderall addict. I don't do Adderall every single day. I'm not pill popping like crazy. I don't do that because I don't want, first of all, I hate the taste that it leaves in my mouth. It leaves this ugly taste in my mouth that is just like an aftertaste I can't get rid of. But and it's all in the days that I take the damn pill. But it's what I have to do just because of my ADD, and it's just part of the process. It's what I have to do. But for me, recharging is just basic things like giving myself enough time off, giving myself 2 days in a week where I can just be a oinker and pick out on whatever I want to eat, doing my walks every day, spending time with the cats, watching Star Trek. So those are the things. If you do things you enjoy, they charge you up and they will recharge you. Today, I woke up this morning, I had like zero energy this morning. And even after I took my caffeine pill and then I took my Adderall, I still wasn't feeling very energetic. And so I had to push myself to work today, which is why I actually got on, because sometimes talking to you guys and communicating with you guys is actually a charge, and it helps me to kind of line up with the energy because y'all all represent God to me. And so if I can line up with the need of the moment, then I will get that energy spark and that energy charge. Doing meditations, like you have to focus on meditations, align your chakras. That doesn't work for energy when you're doing this work in the moment. It just doesn't work for me. That's not realistic. And so if anything, doing a meditation actually makes me more tired, more sleepy, even if it's a targeted or an intensive meditation. I don't get energized by meditating. I actually get more relaxed, more chill, and that's not really going to help me when I need to be energetic for my work. So that doesn't work for me. Walking, it works for me. But when I do too much physical activity, because I used to do exercises before I would work, but then when I would exercise, it would trigger too much of a body connection, and I couldn't separate from the physical body as much to get into my head and get in my mental space. So it takes a fine balance to get into the right mind space or mental space to be able to do this work. And so which I'm planning on discussing thoroughly when it comes to my book, when I can get that, which is sometimes you gotta pull back or take a step back to take some steps forward. And right now I'm like, okay, let me pull my energy back in some things that I'm just overextended on, and then focus on the things that matter the most to me. This matters the most to me. Doing the lives matters the most to me. So that's you just have to take your energy back on the things that you can afford to give energy to. Oh, I love you too, Candy. You hear the rain? That's recharging. Listening to the rain is recharging. Yeah, just Jenny's like, that's a lot, Ferny. Do you get mentally exhausted? Yes, all the time. I get mentally exhausted. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. That's like, you know, when you if you're going to do this work or get into this, you have to accept the fact that there are going to be days where you're just exhausted and you just have nothing left to give. And there are times where I know my limit and I can't do anymore. And so that's why, like today, like with the live, I only did one video call. Normally I try to do 3 or at least 4. My goal is 6. If I can get up to 6 in half an hour, that's great, just because that'll bring the timing down so I can get through it faster. But, you know, if I was able to get through 1, and so I was able to do that. So yeah, it is exhausting. It is definitely exhausting, but it is what it is. Like, people think that you can have a very balanced life and achieve highly, and that's not a reality. If you look at the people who have achieved great things or done a lot, they didn't have a balanced life. Everything was not perfectly measured. Like, they had to push themselves in ways that were beyond what people realized they were having to push themselves. So you just have to push yourself more than you realize sometimes. Jenny, do you ever cancel a private session? So I am very cognizant of people's time and their waiting. And because people have to wait to have a session with me, sometimes more than others, depending on what kind of session, like a mediumship session. At that point, I feel a strong sense of like responsibility and also pressure to show up and do what I have to do, even if I didn't feel like working that day. And there are a lot of days where I wake up and I don't want to interact with anybody. I don't want to talk to a human being, just because I know it's going to take a lot of energy exchange. But I push myself, I force myself, and I have my own process of getting myself there. And actually, sometimes just doing an e-reading immediately will start to line me up, because once I start, it's almost like running. Like, if you're just sitting on the couch and you're not doing anything, you don't really feel like getting up and running or doing a jog. But once you actually get your ass up and start moving your limbs, you will start to feel better, and it's automatically gets you into that state. And so for me, doing an e-reading, that's why I love doing my e-readings in the morning, first thing, because they actually help me to line up and to get into the mindset of wanting to do my appointments as well. And so that's why I do that. This morning I used getting on live with you guys and talking to you guys, because that got me into the right state of mind, into the right frame of mind. But if something happens that emotionally causes me to become distraught, I have to gauge whether I can do it or not. And so if I hear really bad news in my family or really bad news, at that point it shifts the energy within me, and I have to really decide if I can go forward and the show must go on, or if it's enough that I have to stop and I have to be like, I'm sorry, but I can't do it, which I've done it a couple of times. I've done it a few times this year. I think I've done it 3 times where I've had to cancel my lives because something happened and I was able to get through my appointments. But when time came for my lives, it was beyond my ability to keep it going. And I knew that if I got on the live, I was going to break down or I was going to cry. And so I was like, nope, can't do it today. Not going to happen today. So I need to deal with this other stuff. And so I can get through the appointments because I still feel a sense of obligation to people. They've been waiting. Some people have been waiting, and I'm not going to force them to wait more than they have to. But there have been a few instances where something has happened in that day, or I actually get sick, which is rare. I don't get sick. I haven't had a cold in like 3 years now. But if I get sick, or if I get something that feels like a headache, if I'm like bombarded with a headache, which that's been happening a lot more lately, it started to actually go away. But like earlier this year, I was having more headaches. But then I have to reschedule, and I have to. But I try not to. That's the last thing I want to do, is have to reschedule everybody, because it's a mess. It's a mess to have to get people rescheduled, because when you have a very tight schedule and you're booked out months, in some instances, where's the time? Like, where's the time? In order for me to reschedule people, I probably have to give up one of my days off. And sometimes it's better just to stick with the appointments and do it and get through it, than to open up one of your off days and then have to do it on your off day. And if I'm still good for it and I know I can do it, I'll just do it. And so if anything, I just may cancel the live or cancel the study group, which again is what I've done sometimes. But I try very hard to avoid canceling someone's appointment or canceling the session, because I really appreciate the trust and the faith that people put in me, but I also understand that they've had to wait a while as well. So I try not to cancel appointments, and I may be on there and you may not even realize that underneath my calm exterior, I'm like having a lot of like craziness going on. But then as soon as I start my appointment, I tell God, in this moment, I need you to come through and to take over, and I'm going to put myself to the side. And that's what I do. It's the same process when I've done channeling. When I've done channeling, I push myself to the side, my own consciousness, my own internal conflicts. I push that to the side, and I just surrender to the power of God, or surrender to the power of Source, and I just go, and I know I can do it still. So thank you. Yeah, and there's times, and here's the thing, Jenny, because I hate disappointing people. I do not like disappointing people. And there have been times where I have disappointed people. It's rare, but it happens. So like, for example, here's an example. Today I had, what was it? How many? Like 9 or 10 appointments. 2 of them were mediumship appointments. I try to limit my mediumship appointments in a day because I have so many appointments. It takes a lot of energy. And so one mediumship appointment in a day, and all of the rest just being psychic readings or spiritual spiritual sessions or training for my students. That's a good mix for me. If I have more than one mediumship, I know I'm pushing myself. And so today I actually had 2 mediumship appointments. First one went fine. There was no issue with the first one. And then right after that, I had a second mediumship appointment, full 45-minute appointment. And either I wasn't connecting properly or the client just wasn't understanding what I was talking about. But we were going through that session and I just wasn't feeling like this is the quality. This is what I'm used to. I'm used to blowing people away. When I don't blow people away, I struggle with that, and that is an internal thing that I'm still getting used to. But I'm used to blowing people away. So when I don't blow people away, or I didn't do an absolute incredible job, I feel guilty or I feel bad about that because I want to give someone that experience. And they've come to me, they've heard about me, and so they've been waiting for their session. So during the second appointment, she wasn't connecting, and I wasn't sure if I was misinterpreting a whole lot or if she just wasn't understanding what I was talking about. And so I still pushed myself through the entire session, and I have to get out of my head because it can shut you down and lock you up if you give in to the idea that you're not doing well. So I had to force myself past that and keep pushing. But nonetheless, we got through most of the time together, and I said, look, I don't know if this is just you not connecting and understanding what I'm saying, or if this is actually me. I don't know, because I still feel very confident in what I've said to you. But I want you to go back over that recording. I want you to listen to what I said. I want you to write down what I said. And I want you to ask your family members, because you just may not know these details. And sometimes people come into a mediumship session and they only have a very focused mind. They only want to hear very specific things. And if you come into a mediumship session with a very focused sense of obsession about what you want to hear, you're not going to hear anything else, even if it's valid or it actually is true. You're only going to want to hear these specific things, and if you don't hear it, you're pretty much locking yourself up and you're not hearing anything else, which is what I suspect was happening in this situation. And so what I said was, look, don't worry. She says, this is what we're going to do. I want you to we just had a session. Go back over it, write everything I said down, ask your family members, because the person that I really want to connect you with, if that wasn't happening during our time together and you don't feel confident with that, but if you check with your family and everything else I was talking about was correct and it's actually valid, we're going to get back together. I'm going to schedule you for an appointment sooner than later, and we're going to try it again because I want to connect you with this person you want to talk to. If you decide after listening to that recording and asking family that this was not working and that you don't feel like I was making a strong connection and you don't want to continue, just let me know and I will go ahead and refund your session. No questions asked. It's not a problem. I'm here to help people. I'm here to connect them. And if it's not happening, if they don't feel that it's happening, I will just do a refund. I've only done like refunds for mediumship sessions, I think 4 or 5 times in my entire career. I've been doing this for years, so I haven't had to do that often. But I don't want someone walking away feeling like they didn't get from the session that what I was wanting to give them, or what they were thinking they were going to get. And so in my mind, I'm like, okay, if you don't feel I was connecting, and if this stuff wasn't accurate, or you don't feel it was accurate, that's fine. We'll just do a refund, no problem. And then you try another medium and see if you can make that connection with this person. But I've only had to do that like 4 or 5 times. And so it's a very rare thing, but I don't mind, because I'm like, I want you to be okay. I want you to come away with what you needed to. And if I don't blow people away, or if I'm not doing exceptionally well, I'm hard on myself and I analyze stuff. Y'all don't realize, like, I go over some of these recordings when I do readings for people in the live, and I'm watching what I'm doing, and I'm catching things that I'm messing up on, catching things I could have seen differently. I analyze myself. I study myself, because I'm trying to figure out what was going on in that moment that I wasn't assessing or understanding something as clearly as I could have. And so I give myself feedback and I push myself. So there's a lot of effort that I put into this, besides just doing the lives and getting on camera. So people don't realize I go through this whole song and dance, but that's what I do. So thank you, Christine. I appreciate that. You're in the human practice, some self-care now and then. Yeah. Oh no, for sure. I mean, you know, you gotta, yeah. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I'm done, and I got to get in here. Let me see. I want to make sure I got everybody's questions before I get off here. I'm supposed to go walking right now, but it's raining and it's thundering, as y'all can hear. But I want to make sure. Look at these, look at these trolls in the room. This woman, Johnson Camilla. Thank you, Dr. Georgia Spellcaster, for what you have done for me. I'm so grateful. My lover is back to me, and we are now living happily together. Well, Dr. Georgia didn't. If Dr. Georgia was so powerful, then they would have cast a spell, so they could have won the lottery. So obviously that didn't happen, right? So obviously they're not invisible. Yeah, that's trolls. People trying to get. Yeah, Holly, I can see the messages, but this is a lie. This is the study group. This isn't readings. I'm not doing readings right now. These are only study groups. So, but thank you, Holly. I appreciate it. Oh, you're so sweet. I love you, Holly. I love you too, sweetheart. I love y'all. I love all of y'all. So, all right, guys. Well, let me get off of here, because I need to go and chill out. So, love you all. Have a good night, y'all, and I will see y'all next week. Okay? Bye, everybody. If you're in Houston, be careful and keep an eye on that storm, because again, I had those dreams, and I want to make sure it doesn't change